Thank you for watching my video. My name is Candice, and today I'll be doing an analysis of a young 180 centimetre tall male weighing 80 kilograms performing a conventional deadlift, and there are no known existing injuries for this lifter. Before we delve into that, first it is important to understand a bit of background behind deadlifting. Deadlifting is a weightlifting exercise that tests overall body strength, with a general muscular focus on the gluteus maximus, gastrocnemius, soleus, quadriceps, spinal erectors, and hamstrings. The primary muscles used throughout each variation will differ. Because of this closed kinetic chain exercise has many benefits with a focus on increasing muscular strength, particularly in the posterior chain. These training adaptations have also been hypothesized to be beneficial for anterior cruciate ligament rehabilitation due to its similarities to the squat in the training of the hamstrings, which can protect the ACL. There are many different variations of deadlift, with each directed at creating benefits for different sport applications and strength adaptations, though more research needs to be done in regards to this. Some of the athletes that would benefit from deadlifting during training include, but are not limited to, football players, volleyball players, and wrestlers. During this presentation, I will be focusing on the conventional deadlift. The conventional deadlift is one of the two primary deadlift styles, the other being the sumo deadlift. This particular style of lifting is challenging for the back and hip extensors, with the extent of challenge placed on the hip extensors varying based on foot position during setup, which will cause more or less activation of the glutes. During setup, the arms are placed laterally to the knees. Having too narrow of a grip width increases the distance the bar has to travel. The conventional deadlift is divided up into 3 segments. The 3 different segments include the lift off, knee passing, and lift complete. Here is a summary layout of what is happening in each phase. Working our way from the bottom up, we'll now delve into more detail. Before a lifter even thinks about lifting a barbell, they must first find a stance that is suitable for what they are trying to achieve. Stance is defined as the linear distance between the left and right ankle centers. For the conventional deadlift, it is recommended to have your feet hip width apart, with your feet pointing straight ahead, which helps a bit more with the lockout system at lift complete. Having your feet hip width apart allows for the line of force to travel directly down your legs and feet, though some coaches will recommend turning your feet out by approximately 15 degrees. The lifter's stance width is 24.53 centimeters. As the image doesn't provide an adequate view of the lifter's hips, I would be estimating his feet placement in regards to his hips, though by increasing his stance width, he may find it easier to maintain the bracing of his spine, which will allow for a slightly more vertical trunk. Another important thing for a lifter to contemplate during setup is their grip width and type. There are 3 different types of grip widths. The first being the double overhand, the second is the hook grip, and finally there is the mixed grip, which our lifter is using during the movement analysis. The mixed grip is also called the over-under grip, as it has one forearm supinated and the other pronated. Using this grip type allows for the least amount of rolling, as the bar will just move more towards the palm of the opposing hand. Lifters have expressed concerns of muscular imbalances from this, as it activates the muscles on each side differently, which could explain the imbalance in the displacement of the weights on each end of the barbell at lift complete. The concerns for muscular imbalances can be avoided by mixing up which hand is supinated and which hand is pronated, allowing for that balance of muscular activation. The lifter has followed grip guidelines, and his hands are placed laterally to his knees with a grip width of 42.41 centimeters, allowing for enough room that his arms do not brush against his knees throughout the lift. Breaking down each of the segments, we'll start off with the first segment being lift off, which is categorized as the phase where both sides of the barbell have been lifted up from the ground and the lifter is supporting the full barbell weight. The moment arms for the lift off are a shoulder moment of 15.16 centimeters and a hip moment of 29.44 centimeters. The knee and ankle moment arms are unaccessible as they are obstructed within the video still. There is a slight lumbar flexion visible, which could be an attempt to aid the hip extensors by shortening the hip moment arm. The lifter's shoulder flexion angle is 49 degrees, matching his hip flexion angle. The recommended shoulder angle is 90 degrees, as it is the most efficient angle to move the weight. An accurate knee and ankle angle is unobtainable as the visibility has been obscured. The lifter's hyperextension of his neck could be the cause of the slight curving of the lumbar spine, which increases the shear force placed upon the lumbar vertebral joints. The lifter may find the sumo deadlift variation with its more upright trunk positioning to be easier on his spine, as this will decrease shear forces and decrease injury potential. The lift-off phase continues until the knee passing phase. The knee passing phase is categorized as just that, the bar passing the knees. Throughout this phase, we expect to see a shortening of the moment arms and thus a decrease in the lifter's required force output to allow for an increase in acceleration. Here, the moment arms are as follows. The shoulder moment arm is 14.50 centimeters. The hip moment arm is 22.63 centimeters. The knee moment arm was unobtainable and the ankle moment arm is 6.81 centimeters. At the onset of knee passing, the shoulder angle was 30 degrees, which is expected as the arms become more vertical throughout the lift. The hip flexion was 99 degrees. This is expected to continue to grow until lockout at lift complete. An accurate knee and ankle angle is unobtainable as the visibility has been obscured. The third and final phase of the lift is lift complete. The lift complete is reached when the lifter is standing in an upright position with their shoulders pulled back, their spine in a neutral position with their knees and hips fully extended. The picture on the bottom right depicts the point at which the lifter should have his lockout position. The picture on the left depicts his actual lockout position. The subject is hyperextending throughout the lumbar spine during this phase of the lift, and as previously mentioned, causes more shear force on the vertebral discs in the lumbar. The hyperextension is most identifiable by the increase in the shoulder moment arm from 19.77 centimeters to 25.26 centimeters. Though looking more closely, we can see that the line of force is affected by this hyperextension. The increase in the ankle moment arm from 7.69 centimeters to 8.13 centimeters indicates that the line of force is no longer over the midpoint of the foot, leading to the recommendation that the lifter requires balance improving interventions. Which brings us to the topic of his spinal stability. Spinal stability is an important point to focus on throughout the lift in regards to preventing injuries. The lifter's shoulders should be retracted and the natural S-shaped curve of his spine should be maintained throughout the lift. It is apparent that the lifter struggles with this, so to aid in maintaining correct posture throughout the lift, it is advised that he takes a deep breath before lifting the bar, increasing his intra-abdominal pressure and aiding in bracing for his lift. As he fails to do this, it indicates that the lifter has poor co-contraction of his spinal erectors and rectus abdominis, which places larger amounts of shear force upon his lumbar vertebral discs, placing him at a high risk of herniating a disc. Looking at the path of movement, we can initially see that the bar was too far forward, which was affecting his line of force. In an attempt to correct his balance, the line of force has been directed closer to the midpoint of his foot, which has caused a slight curve in this line. This could be caused by the hyperextension of his cervical spine in liftoff, which pushes the center of mass out and the line of force more towards the toes, making his movement less energy efficient than it should be. This also indicates a lack of fluidity in the movement. Some of the common mistakes that lifters make include a round flex lower back, which our lifter is displaying at liftoff, excessive kyphosis of the thoracic spine, excessive extension of the lumbar spine, indicating that the lifter is pulling with the lower back, which causes an inactivation of the hips, buttocks, and hamstrings. This is something that is seen in the lifter of this analysis. Pulling of the bar against the thighs, and a lack of synchronization of the movement, which is, as aforementioned, a mistake of our analyzed lifter. Based off of my analysis of the lifter in this presentation and the previously mentioned mistakes, it is of my recommendation that the lifter should partake in exercises aimed at increasing glute and hamstring strength. This will aid in his spinal stability and improve his lumbar bracing throughout the lift. He may also find it beneficial to practice lifting with lighter loads whilst improving his glute and hamstring strength. Thank you for taking the time to watch my analysis.